A pattern that sometimes shows up in emotionally immature people is getting stuck in a victim identity. Their problems, disappointments, and unfair experiences become central in how they see themselves and relate to the rest of the world. Actually, solving problems can feel surprisingly uncomfortable because the problems themselves have become tied to validation, attention, and even their sense of identity. They may appear to want solutions while unconsciously resisting things that would actually improve the situation. If the problem is solved, they lose not only the complaint, but any sympathy, attention, validation, or sense of identity that is tied to it. This is why every suggestion somehow becomes impossible or won't work, and attempts to help end up running into other obstacles. Someone may complain for years about a toxic friendship, yet refuse to set boundaries or do anything to change the relationship. You suggest reducing contact. They say that would be cruel. You suggest having an honest conversation. They say that person will never listen. If you suggest ending the relationship, they insist that they can't. The conversation becomes less about solving the problem and more about revisiting any perceived injustice over and over again. Another example is a person who constantly complains about their job, but they dismiss looking at any alternatives. Looking for another position is too risky. Speaking to management is pointless. Additional training is too difficult. Some obstacles may be very real, but this pattern becomes noticeable when every path forward is immediately ruled out and the discussion repeatedly turns to how unfair a situation is. This dynamic can be confusing because many people assume that if you're talking about a problem, you actually want help fixing it. Emotionally underdeveloped individuals who are attached to a victim role are looking for something different. They are seeking agreement, validation, sympathy, and confirmation that they've been mistreated. They aren't looking for practical solutions. A clue that you might be dealing with this is having the same conversation with somebody repeatedly, but there's never any movement toward change. A healthy response is to stop taking ownership of the problem. Instead of offering advice or becoming someone's therapist, you can say something like, "That sounds really difficult. What do you think you're going to do about it? I hope you find a solution that works for you." You can acknowledge the person's feelings without pulling yourself into endless problem solving. If they ask you what you think outright and you don't want to be pulled in, tell them that you don't really have any advice that you feel that you could give them, but you really hope that it works out in their best interest. Disengaging requires recognizing the difference between supporting someone and becoming trapped in a cycle that needs to keep the problem alive. Compassion and boundaries can exist at the same time. You can care about someone's struggles without becoming responsible for carrying them or fixing them on their behalf. Have a good day.